start. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Professor Yong Kiet Woon.
Who?
Professor Yong Kiet Woon,
Oh.
Vice President of NUS Campus Facilities. Professor Tan Teck Hoon, Dean of Students, Office of Student Affairs. Mr. Sim Lai Hock, Manager of SRC Facilities Booking. Distinguished professors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Vivien, and I'm part of this four-man team which comprises of NUS students. And today, we will be putting forth an idea that will revolutionize the SRC facilities, which is to extend the current operating hours of SRC to a full-fledged 24 hours operating system. Sorry. Okay, before we move any further, allow me to introduce our agenda for this presentation. I will be explaining the need for such a drastic change in the SRC facilities by giving you a brief overview of the NUS culture. Next, key findings will be introduced by Desmond, who will be dwelling with our primary and secondary research. And Hao Zhao and Hao and Samuel will be giving you our plan of action, which aims to implement this 24-hour system in the SRC facilities. And lastly, Hao Zhao will be wrapping up this entire presentation by giving you a brief conclusion. So, before I move on any further, allow me to ask you a simple question. Can you recall your last visit to the SRC? Well, allow me to share my personal experience with you. I remember it was during the IFG season, and I took up the courage and I signed up for my faculty's netball team. Initially, I was a bit perplexed as to why training starts at 8 p.m. at such ungodly hours. So, nonetheless, I still entered the SRC facilities at 8 p.m. waiting for training to start. So we started off with warm-ups and whatnot, but halfway into the training at 8:30 p.m., it started pouring. So the entire group of people on the courts, which is about 100 people, we have to evacuate to SRC complex to seek for shelter. And 10 minutes pass, 20 minutes pass, 40 minutes pass, an hour pass. Finally, the rain subsided, and all of us proceeded to the SRC courts. But it was already 9:30, and there's nothing much we can do. So we did a bit of training, and at 10 p.m. we were probably shoved out of the SRC complex. So you may think that this is just an isolated situation where it's just your luck that you can't conduct your training and you only have 2 hours to train, or even wonder why is training started only at 8 p.m. Why not start it earlier so that you can have some buffer time for such unforeseen circumstances? Well, to put in the right perspective of mind, this is actually not an isolated case. It is a prevalent problem in NUS culture. And according to our survey, about 70.9% of our respondents actually indicated that the SRC opening hours is far too short to conduct any activities or to have proper training sessions. And we have this desire to see such a drastic change in the SRC facilities. And some of the reasons that they attribute this to is that about 50% of them indicated that their classes end too late, or about equal amount of people stated that there's no time slot that they can fit in the desired slots, or the group training are just far too short. So why so? You must be thinking why. So our group has come up with several reasons, and the first reason is that the lifestyle of NUS is far too hectic. Well, a typical NUS student is pretty hectic, let alone a professor, right? So after doing some research, we actually saw that a typical NUS student on the NUS website states that it recommends 50 hours of studies on academia. Well, but according to another NUS website, which is dedicated to the teaching assistant, it states that NUS students are very result-driven, very pragmatic. So actually, this recommended 50 hours is not really 50 hours, right? So this actually translates to a longer study hours, leading to a very short limit of time that one can exercise. Next is that certain SRC facilities are being log booked by varsity teams. According to our survey, according to our interview with Mr. Sin, he concurred that this is true, as certain facilities are booked, especially for these varsity teams. So what's the outcome of this? Certain several bodies of students had actually moved out to external sports facilities to conduct their leisure sports. But don't you think this is a little ridiculous, as NUS students do not have the chance to even use the facilities in NUS? And lastly, common time slot. It's very difficult to find common time slot for NUS students, as sports are to be played by people from all walks of faculty. And according to a website on course, the course website, it actually shows that there's a disproportionate amount of time, a disproportionate amount of lessons that actually ends before 6 p.m. So most trainings or even sports activities are only delayed to after 6 p.m. So due to inflexible exercise time and due to limited time to exercise, we do see a space crunch in NUS, and hence the demand for such facilities in SRC outweighs the supply that is available in this period of time. So let me better illustrate using some pictures. This is actually a tennis court taken at 9 a.m. in the morning, and as compared to this picture, which is 9 p.m. in the evening, which is relatively a little bit more crowded. This is a picture of the netball court at 9 a.m. and the respective one at 9 p.m. where people use it for their street soccer or their netball training. And lastly, this is the running track at 9 a.m. and the track at 9 and 9 p.m. May I draw your attention to this small group of people over here? Even though the condition of this SRs of this running track is not very conducive, as it's very poorly lit, but this did not waver the enthusiasm and the willingness of these students to exercise in such condition. Hence, our group sees that there is a need to extend the current operating hours of SRC to meet the demands of the students. Well, this actually is not common overseas, as we can see that there is a proliferation of gyms that operates 24 hours. One such example is the one in USA, which is called 24 Hours Fitness Gym. They provide courts, swimming pools, and a gym for their members to exercise, and they are proliferating everywhere. Well, for local, we have found out that many hotels actually implemented an automated system for their guests to exercise at their leisure time. This actually this gives us actually a very good model to emulate such model for implementation in our idea. And we actually done some secondary research on tertiary institution overseas, which will be dealt more by Desmond. And now I'll hand over the time to Desmond, who will give you more information about our key findings.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now let me briefly introduce our key findings of our project. Now let me start from the methodology. As for our methodology part, you can see that our methodology, there have two sections. First should be the primary research, and second should be secondary research. And as for our primary research, you can see that it has an interview, also the survey. Now let's go to our interview part. As for our interview with Mr. Sin Lei Hao, he is a manager of the SRC of OSA. OSA stands for Office of Students Affairs. And as for our interview with him, he just introduced the current situation and also the limitations of why they do not want to expand the operating hours. Now let's go to the current situation part. As for the current situation, he just said that now the security guards already trained with basic aid and also have some basic medical knowledge. This just means that if you are injured in the jail, they can find you and send you to hospital immediately. And also there is a panic button. The panic button in the jail means there is a button there, and once you are injured, you can press that button, and then the security guard will be notified, and then he will find you and send you to the hospital. Also, as for the severe injured, as for those severe injured people, I think they will immediately find you and send you to the AUH, which stands for National University Hospital immediately.